Good afternoon. Today is June 19th. We're here going to start things off first with a public meeting. This public meeting is held under Section 34 of the Planning Act, and it is now declared open. The application on the public meeting agenda today is for public consultation purposes only and will be addressed at a future council meeting. No decisions are being made on the application today. At this time, I will ask staff to please confirm that the required notice was given for the subject application in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act.
Yes, the notices of this public meeting were circulated to nearby property owners within 120 meters of the subject property and also to the required agencies under the Planning Act and posted on the Township's website on May 27th. So that meets the required notification requirements under the Planning Act.
Perfect. All those present at the public meeting will have an opportunity to speak in favor of or in opposition to the application. Any and all comments and information submitted, whether orally or in writing, including identifying information, becomes part of the public record and could be made publicly available at any point, including on the Township's website and other electronic forms of publication, in accordance with the Planning Act requirements. Any person wishing to receive the notice of decision regarding the application being considered must send an email request to the Township office immediately following this meeting. And in all cases, said request must be received prior to the date of the decision of the Council on the matter. Pursuant to the provisions of the Planning Act, the rights and limitations of appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal with respect to the decision of Council on the application are as follows. If a person or a public body would otherwise have an ability to appeal the decision of Township of Greater Madawaska to the Ontario Land Tribunal, but the person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the Township of Greater Madawaska before the bylaw is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision. If a person or a public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the Township of Greater Madawaska before the bylaw is passed, the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the Ontario Land Tribunal unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to do so. Additionally, subsection 34(19) of the Planning Act defines that parties that are eligible to appeal the decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal. At this time, I will ask staff to please describe the purpose and effect of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment related to file number ZB2506.7, being a township-initiated zoning bylaw amendment associated with the expansion of the Black Donald pit, and summarize any written comments received.
Thank you. So as the chair said, this is a township-initiated zoning bylaw amendment. It applies to just over 3 hectares of land that are located east of the existing Black Donald pit site. The township has filed an application to the Ministry of Natural Resources to license this expansion area so we can expand the pit. So that application has been filed under the Aggregate Resources Act, and there will be a future statutory open house held as part of that. This application is the concurrent zoning bylaw amendment, which is required to put the 3 hectares of land in an extractive industrial zone, which would allow the future pit. And so the intention is to create an extractive industrial exception zone, and there are a couple of minor exceptions required. One is that the lands that are subject of the zoning amendment will have 0 frontage on a road, which sounds not sufficient, but in fact it's really just expanding the existing pit, and so this parcel doesn't touch the road, so it will have 0 frontage on a road. There's a minimum buffer strip required to abutting properties in the extractive industrial zone of 30 meters, and so the exception zone here would look for that setback to be only 15 meters instead of 30. The abutting lands, and including the subject property, are crown land, so reducing the buffer to 15 meters really doesn't affect any abutting properties because it's just crown land and forest abutting. And so the purpose, the effect of the amendment is to create a site-specific extractive industrial zone on the area that is the subject of the license application to the province. We have not received any public comments, written comments regarding this application to date.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody wish to speak in favor of the amendment? If so, please come forward, state your name and address for the record. Please note that you will have a maximum of 10 minutes to provide your comments. Nobody's seen. Does anybody wish to speak in opposition to the amendment? If so, please come forward and state your name and address for the record. Please note that you will have a maximum of 10 minutes to provide your comments. Nobody here. This therefore completes the public meeting process for this application. Council will give a careful consideration to the comments received on the application before it considers a decision on this application at a future council meeting. I now declare this public meeting closed. That being said, we'll move right into our regular council meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 3:06 p.m. Do we have a mover? Councillor Levesque and Councillor Thompson. So I'd like to begin with a land acknowledgement here. Oh, okay, my apologies. We'll rise for O Canada. As we gather in chambers, I would like to acknowledge on behalf of council and our community that we're meeting on unceded traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history, and we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. Miigwech. Okay, item number 4, approval of agenda. Resolution, please.
That the agenda of the council meeting of June 19th, 2025 be approved as presented.
Do we have a mover? Councillor Tripp and Councillor Levesque. All in favor? Carried. Okay, item number 5, approval of minutes. Resolution, please.
Be it resolved that the following minutes are approved by council: May 15th, 2025 regular council, June 2nd, 2025 special council, and June 10th, 2025 public hearing.
Do we have a mover? Councillor Thompson, followed by Councillor Tripp. All in favor? Carried. 5.2, acceptance of minutes. Resolution, please.
Be it resolved that the following minutes are accepted by council: May 6, 2025 Canada Day Committee, May 6, 2025 Recreation and Culture Committee.
Do we have a mover? Councillor Thompson, followed by Councillor Levesque. All in favor? Carried. Okay. Declaration of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. There are none seen. Okay. In light of Mayor Weir, I would like to continue the tradition of doing a mayor's report. Since I have taken over as the chair, I've attended one educational seminar up in Pembroke and one community event. And on that note, I would like to give a big thank you and a congratulations to all the volunteers and organizers of the Guitars and Gasoline Festival. It went really smoothly. There was no hiccups, and it was a great thing that everybody I've talked to has enjoyed. So thank you very much for everybody, and that sums up my report. Now we'll have a county council update by Councillor Tripp.
Perfect, thank you. So in Mayor Weir's absence, I'm representing the township at the council table, the county council table. And again, keeping with Mayor Weir's tradition, just a brief update on the proceedings. We met on the 12th of June, and it's as a first time, it was really interesting to see the process and the way things rolled forward. Very similar to our work here. In the morning is the business of county council for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. Very similar to the things that we discuss here, just at a different level in terms of purchasing, in terms of addressing planning and business of council. And then the afternoon is set for committee of a whole, where we work through all of the different committees. So it's a long day, interesting day. The top takeaway from it, it was a very easy and light agenda because they're getting ready for the summer. There's one more meeting next week, and then we'll recess for the summer. In the report from the head of council, Mr. Eamon, he also recognized and acknowledged the great work in Calabogie with Guitars and Gasoline. That had been recognized throughout the county. This was not a local event. It drew from around, and a lot of kudos, a lot of recognition. So thank you for your efforts in pulling it together. The other thing that was interesting at county is the provincial legislation, discussions around things like Bill C-17, which is the bill for build homes quicker and faster. A lot of discussion going on. They have a huge complement of staff. There's 100 people approximately working at county. So their teams are well into reviewing and addressing the impact of the new legislation for homes. Most of it does not impact rural. It's talking about large transportation scenes for large urban centers, but that of which relates to us is being shared from county table to the lower tier. So there's a dialogue at the staff level going on. They have consultants that are doing a scan in areas where there's no impact or some impact. It's a process that will evolve over time, but the communication is well entrenched between the two staff levels. Important for us to know that those doors of communication are open and things will eventually come to us for our awareness as things move forward. So it's a well-oiled machine. There is another meeting, as I said, next week, which will be the wrap-up, and then we start back again in August. So future reports will be a little bit more robust. As I can, I will bring, because there'll be more information, hopefully, and as I can, I will bring things from that table to our table. So lower tier municipalities will do table drops of initiatives within their respective jurisdictions, and some of those are interesting and can help us advance. I gave a package to Councillor Levesque today from the town of Arnprior on things that they're doing with their rec committees, which may just be of interest or it may help us at this table. So we'll keep those communication channels open as we go forward. Thank you.
Thank you. On to item number 9, Public Works Department. 9.1, Byers Road Maintenance. Resolution, please.
The council endorse staff to proceed with the next steps for Byers Road as presented in this report.
Do we have a mover? Councillor Thompson, followed by Councillor Tripp. All in favor? Oh, sorry. Getting carried away here. Can we have some background on that, Steve?
So we've had some owners on the road, Byers Road, get together and they connected with staff and they voiced some concerns about the last, I'm going to say, 300 meters of Byers Road. It narrows right in, very narrow. They've had some concerns about, especially in the winter months for emergency vehicles and stuff to get in to access safely. It is a very narrow section of road, and we've had issues because it's a forced road through most of the section, but we've worked out of arrangement with landowners in here to go ahead next steps and stake out where we think we need to widen the road in places so the landowners can see. And if they all agree with what we're planning on, we could go ahead and widen the road to what we need it to better access for these people. And once the road work is complete, we would then get the survey and that type of stuff done in the end. And because the terrain in here is all rocky and you don't know where you're going to be able to go until you start actually doing the work. And so those are the next steps we're looking at with council's approval if we move on.
Any questions or comments?
Was this road, was this road always in part of our asset management plan? Is this a surprise?
It's just a gravel road.
So, sorry, it's
It's a gravel road.
a gravel road, so that therefore it's not part of the
Yeah.
asset management plan?
Yeah, the roads they're all part of the asset management plan. The maintenance to them are all included in the operating, as in we're referencing them, but yes, they're in the asset management plan.
So work to improve it, is that not part of the asset?
Yes.
So, okay, so this is something we planned for. but we
No,
didn't
so
plan
what we would have is, we have a property or a road that had only seasonal and it wasn't upgraded. There was a permit provided in this property for all, like a year-round. So now there's year-round homes within that road. So that 300 meters includes that. So by error, there was a permit that was supplied for that property. It now requires us to upgrade it a bit. The residents have been fine up to now. The maintenance, every year we go through the same maintenance issues. But now they're looking to actually have conversations about widening the road, which we would be impeding on their properties to be able to do that, to be able to maintain it properly with their trucks. But yeah, it's our asset. We're not taking on a new asset. Byers Road is ours. It used to be seasonally maintained and year-round maintained.
So now it's year-round maintained?
Yeah, and it has been.
Okay.
The change is the area, the 300 meters or whatever it is.
Yeah, the last
that's being upgraded to accommodate
Wider.
widening. So it is a change from whatever work plan you may have had before. Like you didn't have this in your work plan
No,
till now.
until now, yeah.
I see, and that's because of this new year-round residence at the end of what was a seasonal road. Okay, thank you.
Any more questions or comments? Do we need to have the resolution reread? All in favor? Carried. On to item 9.2. Supply and install guardrail on Kennelly Mountain Road. Resolution, please.
That council directs staff to include the costs associated with the supply and installation of guardrail on Kennelly Mountain Road in the asset management plan.
Do we have a mover? Councillor Levesque, followed by Councillor Thompson. Background, please.
So like council know, we've had lots of concerns regarding that deep ditch on Kennelly Mountain Road, and I brought a report earlier that, we talked to the ministry about filling that ditch in, and that was a no. There was a bunch of stuff looked at beforehand, and we thought we would try and see if there'd be possible to get guardrail put in along this section. I put a tender out in May. It ended May 30th. I made sure that it was a mandatory site meeting just so contractors could see what they were dealing with, because it's not a typical area of putting guardrail. So I had 3 show up on site, but when the tenders came in, we only had 1 tender come in. from Boral Fence and Guardrail for $99,375. As part of the 2025 Asset Management Plan update, several competing infrastructure needs have been identified in light of this. So staff recommend not awarding the tender at this time and allowing more comprehensive review of the capital projects and prioritize based on health and safety risk. As an interim safety measure, we'll add some additional signage installed in the affected area for now until we can figure out next steps.
Any questions or comments? Councillor Thompson?
You did outline to us at an earlier meeting how it's a very, very, very narrow road. It's on the, it's got a creek that M&R said we can't fill in, we can't move it even though it's dry half the time. Cliff on the other side, and it would cost a lot to move the road into that cliff. $99,000 is a lot for that seldom used road. So I just wanted other people to understand that we're not saying safety isn't important, that this is a cost at this time. They have to weigh about the use. And I think signage, there might be if there are any other solutions you can think of, like speed bumps, I don't know, that would be appreciated. But I just thought people would like to know that. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? None seen. Do we need to reread the resolution? All in favor? Carried. On to item number 10, Protection Service Department. 10.1, Bylaw 42-2025, Automatic Aid Agreement with North Frontenac. Resolution, please.
The council approved bylaw 42, 2025, being a bylaw to enter into an automatic aid agreement with the Township of North Frontenac.
Do we have a mover? Councillor Levesque, followed by Councillor Tripp. Some background, please.
So this is just a bylaw to continue the agreement for automatic aid for fire services with North Frontenac. Our last agreement was only 2 years, so this agreement would allow us to have a 3-year with an option to renew for another 2 years, just not needing to come to council as much. We did a full review 2 years ago and made adjustments where the cost would be based off MTO costs and whatnot, so we don't require any changes in that way, so it's just changing the terms of the agreement.
Any questions or comments? None seen. All in favor? Carried. Item number 11, Planning and Development. 11.1, Bylaw 37-2025, Zoning Bylaw Amendment, Jackstev Holdings Incorporated. Resolution, please.
The council approved bylaw 37, 2025, being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 28, 2024, as amended, to rezone lands located in part of lots 4 and 5, concession 13, geographic township of Brome, from rural to rural exception 55 and rural exception 56 to satisfy conditions of consent.
Do we have a mover? Councillor Tripp, followed by Councillor Levesque. Some background, please.
Yes, so the property is fronting onto Flat Road. It is the subject of 3 consent applications which have been conditionally approved by Renfrew County. The zoning amendment is a requirement to satisfy a condition of consent. The property is located in proximity to a disposal industrial zone and also in proximity to an extractive industrial reserve zone. So the zoning amendment is required to allow development on these lots and recognize some reduced setbacks to those nearby zones. In considering the zoning amendment, staff have evaluated the Planning Act, Section 2 of the Planning Act in particular, and considered the requirements of Section 2, particularly around protection of natural heritage features and agricultural lands, overall health and safety, and encouraging opportunities for housing. We have considered the provincial planning statement There are no agricultural lands here. There are no natural heritage features with the exception of a watercourse that has been considered in the development potential for each of the lots. The severance applications would create 3 new rural residential lots, which would contribute to the supply of housing or opportunities for housing in the township. There was an aggregate impact assessment done by a qualified expert to address the extractive industrial zone that is nearby. So that satisfies a section of the provincial planning statement, and a landfill site impact assessment was also completed to address the proximity to the disposal zone that's nearby. So those address the provincial interests in the provincial planning statement. So the zoning amendment would support the creation of the lots. They all have appropriate frontage on Flat Road and appropriate area to meet the minimum requirements in the zoning bylaw. We asked the consultant to provide us with a development envelope sketch for each of the lots, so we could be satisfied that there would be place to build on each lot that meets the zoning setbacks, meets the setbacks to those nearby zones, and respects the setback to the watercourse. And so those have been provided, and they would get implemented on each of the lots through a development agreement, which is also a condition of the severance imposed by the county. The properties in the rural designation in the county official plan, so rural lot creation is permitted. And as I said, the aggregate impact assessment and the landfill impact assessment were done to support the severances, and those satisfy the relevant sections of the county official plan. The properties currently in the rural zone, minimum lot size is 1 acre and the minimum lot frontage is 45 meters. So as I said, the lots as conditionally approved by the county exceed those minimum requirements. The purpose then, the zoning amendment is to rezone part of the lands to create 2 site-specific zones to allow for reduced setbacks to the nearby disposal industrial and extractive industrial reserve zones, which would then allow future development on the lots. And as I mentioned, the building envelope sketches have been provided and show suitable areas to build on each lot. The public meeting was held last week on June the 12th. There were no comments or concerns raised at the meeting, and we haven't received any public comments in writing outside of the public meeting.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments? None seen. All in favor? Carried. So on to item number 11.2. Bylaw 39-2025, zoning bylaw amendment, Ottawa West Development Incorporated. Resolution, please.
That council approve bylaw 39-2025, being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 28-2024 as amended to rezone lands located in part of lots 12, 13, and 14, concession 7, geographic township of Madawaska, from rural to limited service residential holding, limited service residential exception 62, and limited service residential exception 63 holding to satisfy conditions of consent.
Do we have a mover? Councillor Thompson, followed by Councillor Levesque. Some background on this, please?
Sure. So as with the previous application, this property, which is located at 243 Sweets Lane, was the subject of 3 severance applications at Renfrew County. Those were conditionally approved on April 11th. That resulted in the conditional approval of 3 waterfront lots measuring approximately 1.1 hectares, 0.7 hectares, and 0.5 hectares. And one of those lots has an existing house on it with the civic address of 243 Sweets Lane. The retained property from those severances is about 103 hectares. It's a large rural property. And so the zoning amendment, as with the previous application, is a requirement to satisfy a condition of severance for those 3 applications. There are 3 kind of elements to the zoning amendment that are required. One is to place the 3 lots in a limited service residential zone to recognize that they front on and would have access via a private road. The second element, so because the property abuts a water body, an archaeological assessment was required and was submitted by the applicant. The archaeological studies are reviewed and accepted by the Ministry of, call it the Ministry of Culture. They have a longer name than that, but that's a requirement in Ontario. As of today, the Ministry of Culture has not issued their clearance letter on that study, so the wording on the severance condition requiring that study is that if the ministry has not signed off, that we would put a holding provision on the affected lots. It would prohibit development on those lots until the ministry signs off on that study. The study applies to 2 of the 3 lots, so the lot that already has the house on it, that already has development on it, is not impacted by that study. So 2 of the 3 lots, the 2 vacant lots, would get a holding provision, which would recognize the need to have that clearance from the ministry. And when that clearance comes, it will require coming back to this council to lift the hold and allow development to proceed. And the third aspect of the zoning amendment, on 2 of the lots will have insufficient frontage to comply with the zoning bylaw. We have evaluated the lots and are satisfied that they still have sufficient area on them to build, and so the undersized frontage doesn't, in my opinion, affect the development potential of the lots, but it does need to be recognized through the zoning amendment today. So again, we have evaluated the application for zoning amendment under the Planning Act and considered Section 2 in particular, and are satisfied that there's appropriate protection for natural heritage features. There are no agricultural lands affected by the zoning amendment, which again just applies to the 3 severed lots, and it provides opportunities for additional housing in the township. We've evaluated the provincial planning statement, and again, the severances create housing opportunities. The studies that were completed for this set of severances included the archaeological assessment as well as a hydrogeology study to evaluate suitable private servicing opportunities for the lots, and a planning justification report was also provided. So those studies address the relevant sections of the provincial planning statement. And in terms of the county official plan, the property is designated rural, where rural lot creation of residential lots is permitted. And again, the supporting studies satisfy the relevant sections of the county official plan, including the planning rationale to support the severances. The holding provision is permitted under section 17.6 of the official plan. It's a tool we can use to regulate or control development until certain things happen. So again, in this case, that is until the Ministry of Culture signs off on the archaeological study. The property is in a rural zone currently, so the purpose of the application, the bylaw amendment this afternoon, is to place the lots in the limited service residential LSR zone, and then to recognize minimum lot frontage reduction on 2 of the 3 lots, and to place the holding provision on 2 of the 3 lots, pending the clearance on the archaeology study. The public meeting was held last week on June the 12th, and we did receive written comments. One letter from Ontario Power Generation, OPG, they provided written comments indicating they don't have any objection to the zoning amendment, and noting that OPG owns the shorelands and the riverbed that abuts the property, and so approvals would be required from OPG to use those lands or access the water. Stephen Houle, apologies for the pronunciation, provided written comments ahead of last week's public meeting and also attended the statutory public meeting on the 12th. And he expressed concern with the notification that he received from Renfrew County on the severances. So that doesn't directly affect the zoning decision. He was notified by the township of the zoning amendment. And he expressed concern with his abutting properties, which are landlocked. And again, that's related to the severances. The zoning amendment today is dealing with the 3 severed lots. So otherwise, staff are supportive of the zoning amendment and recommending approval.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Councillor Thompson?
Thank you. I have a couple. The diagram, I just want to make sure that do these properties have, all of them have access to the private lane? Because it looks like it's floating in space in this diagram. That it's not just waterfront only.
Yes, through the chair, can you just point me to which, are you looking at the figure that goes with the bylaw?
On page 8, Schedule B.
Okay. So yes, they all have access. Yeah, that's not a very great rendering because it doesn't really accurately show where the road is located.
Yeah.
It It shows an excerpt from our mapping, but doesn't really accurately show where the road is. If you were to scroll back to page 5 of that staff report, you'll see the figure that was submitted with the application package that more accurately shows where the road is located. And so the 3 lots all have frontage on Sweets Lane and frontage on the water.
Thanks, I just wanted to make sure. I have
Yep.
another one. I'm also curious about the seasonally maintained road, municipal road. If someone in those lots decides to build a year-round home, is there an obligation by the township to plow the road year-round? How does that work? Thanks.
So there are some examples like this in the township, but because a part of the road access here is seasonally maintained, the building department would not issue a building permit to build a year-round dwelling. You could only get permission to build a seasonal dwelling in the current circumstances, and the building permit as issued would indicate that, seasonal occupancy only. I guess if somebody wanted to have a year-round dwelling, there would be an opportunity to enter into an agreement with the township for a private property owner or owners to maintain the road on a year-round basis, and so enter into an agreement, provide appropriate security, insurance, that kind of thing. Otherwise, based on the stretch of road that's seasonally maintained, it would be seasonal occupancy only.
Yep.
Is there anything that will let any purchaser of the lot know that this is the case? Or is this something they'll find out later?
I guess the owners of the property are here and probably hearing what we're saying, so they, yeah.
Oh, sorry. My mic wasn't on. If any of the lots are severed and somebody purchases it, would they know that they've got that? If they're thinking of putting in a full-time home.
I think we could probably include that in the development agreement that's required here to recognize the recommendations from the hydrogeology study and things would go in a development agreement, so we could probably put that in there for information.
Yeah, I think that would be safe, so we don't have to deal with it down the road, if it should happen. Okay, thanks, and that's it.
Any further questions or comments? None seen. Do we need to reread the resolution? All in favor? Carried. So on to item number 12, Finance and Administration Department, 12.1, RFP 03-2025, Real Estate Agent, Realtor on Record. Resolution, please.
The council award RFP 03-2025 Real Estate Agent Realtor on Record to eXp Realty Canada, Erica Edmansky.
Do we have a mover? Councillor Levesque, followed by Councillor Thompson. Do we need any background on this?
I'll provide a bit of background.
Okay.
So what we have is in April, we would have come to council for the next steps on Peaks Village, which was the sale of surplus lands. So what we went out to RFP, we received 2 proposals, and one major component within the proposals was a commission percentage as well as relevant experience and just local context. When evaluating the 2 proposal, eXp Realty Canada was pointed higher than the other one. So we would be proceeding and recommending to award to Erica Edmansky at eXp. How this would work is that on these sales, the realtor would be commissioned at 4% plus a 2%. And then there is an opportunity should the buyer utilize the same realtor, we'd get a discount of 1%. So it would be taking off the sale of land. The total lands, there's 8 properties here that would be sold. So once council approves, we would be awarding, and then the realtor would begin immediately to sell the lands, which are intended to fund the works on Peaks Village Road.
Do we have any questions or comments? Councillor Levesque?
Just a clarification, thank you for that. Just a clarification, is it only for these parcels that Erica is awarded?
Sorry, no, the agreement is for 2 years. And the intent is that if there are other parcels of land, as we're reviewing surplus lands from the township, that we have the opportunity to use this realtor at these rates.
Okay, and just a couple of other questions regarding the percentages, and is that below what market is? Like, is there?
It's pretty aligned with market.
Yeah.
Yes, so it's aligned with market. It's a less competitive market to begin with. And going out to RFP essentially was just for people to bid in and have to follow our procurement bylaw. As you know what I mean, the most are at a 4% rate with plus a 2%.
And just last question, given that Erica was a former employee of the township, are there any concerns or considerations given to that regarding this issue?
So a review of a conflict of interest we've completed, and no, there's no concerns.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. Item number 12.2, alternative recreational trail review update, information item. Some background on this, Renee, please.
This memo is to provide council with just a kind of mid-year update on the alternative recreational trail review goal requirement. Last year, council would have added this to the strategic plan. At the time, we had stated that we would provide an update or recommendation to council by spring 2025. So what we have here is council directed staff to review options for developing an alternative recreational trail route, including potential realignment of the KMP trail. So we have a few items that we've been looking at, mainly the jurisdictions. We do have the KMP crossing through. There's components that are owned by the township, other components owned by the Mississippi Valley Conservation Authority, and then the county of Renfrew. So we've been looking at that, looking at active transportation in tourism areas, commercial areas. Where does this fit? And then the intent with council was to limit impacts on residents with these trails we have. So I've kind of commented here on the relocation of trails. As soon as you start moving it over, well, these portions are getting developed, so it's always going to be within that area. There is not much to this update other than we are beginning the secondary plan review. And in that review, we are talking about active transportation and going out to public. These surveys getting launched this week. There's going to be public consultation all summer, and there'll be discussions around these components coming into the township. So ideally, we'd be given that time to be able to compile what we receive through the secondary plan, to be able to assess more on what does a community need, want, and the impacts on our businesses and our township as a whole in the future. So the intent here is just to let you know this is where we are at. We're not going to discontinue. We're going to have conversations and continue to assess, but I guess we won't be providing any recommendations, probably going more into the next year, the end of this year.
Any questions? Councillor Tripp?
Thank you. More a comment than a question, as this is just for information. So thanks for this from staff. It's a good piece of work. And I'm happy with the public consultation. I think that's going to be an important part. The genesis for this, when it came to council through the initial motion, was to look more for vehicular diversion of traffic off the KMP, either through Flower Station or Taddy Hill outside of the residential area. So I recognize the point about as we get closer to an area where we have population and potential population growth, we want to stay away from that. But there are alternatives out in that area. The trail, in terms of diversion of the trail, has already happened on the KMP. There is a section currently at Mississippi Mills where you come off of the old rail bed onto the highway, and they've increased the size of the highway by 6 feet to allow the traffic down to reconnect back onto the trail. They've also done that in the trail between Sharbert Lake going up to Peterborough, where there's another section. So this has been used to divert. I think the genesis of the idea was to bring that traffic into Calabogie for economic drivers, but to try to take some of the pressure off of the section Taddy Hill coming down into the golf course area and then through the golf course out on the 511. They're using that now, and it is working. It's not tied to the causeway. I think the causeway still needs to be considered, and hopefully in this conversation, the public input, the viability of a trail for pedestrian and bicycle is I think makes great sense from an economic development. So I'm encouraged to see where we go with the consultation, and that the consultation include, or we reach out to the trail users, both the Snowmobile Club as well as the Renfrew County ATV, and even our local clubs that are running ATVs. But thanks for this, and I was encouraged to see it come forward with an update. Thank you.
Any more questions or comments? Councillor Thompson?
As well, it's important to know that when this started, we weren't undergoing a secondary plan analysis, so this is really good timing. So, we have now the understanding that it's not an easy puzzle to solve, but now we've got help to solve it, and I think it's very encouraging. And I like the, splitting, where do we need the vehicles to be, and where do we need the pedal power and the foot power, leg power to go. Thank you. Thanks for the update.
Thanks. Any other questions? None seen, so we'll move on here. 12.3, biannual finance update 2025, information item. I guess this is you, Jen?
Yes, thank you, Taylor. So today I bring to you the biannual financial update. It was attached in your package today and outlines the financial results from January 1st to May 31st in comparison to the 2025 budget. 5 months into the year, and we should be projecting at approximately 41% of our budget, almost 42%. And the overall financial results are at expected levels for this point in the year, as revenue and expenses align with our expectations. So that's good. Other items to note, we are pleased to inform you that the Township has now launched our new online financial portal. Through this portal, ratepayers can sign up for e-billing and will have the ability to view detailed information about their accounts, including billing, payments, and assessment values. To access the portal, all residents will need their tax roll number as well as a unique access code, PIN code, which will be printed on their final tax bills. However, if residents wish to sign up early to receive their final bill online or by email, they may contact us by phone or email to obtain their PIN in advance. So we're excited that to see this through, and we have posted it on our website now, and we'll start promoting it through Facebook, through our Facebook page. Some other good news is that the Township has been successful in 6 grant applications so far this year, which has resulted in approximately $110,000 worth of funds to be used specifically for their application intent. They were listed in your agenda package today. These grants are an integral part of ensuring that we are able to improve services and retain capital items when available without affecting tax levies. So just a good job to the staff involved on collecting those. The Township has also issued 2 municipal grants to community organizations, resulting in a value of $3,450 to date of cash and in-kind services to help promote community activities. We recently conducted a tax sale process in April of 2025, which resulted in the sale of 1 property, and we still have 2 unsuccessful properties in which we are now seeking legal opinion on. So we will bring a future report to council on that. Our cost savings review, as per our Schooley Mitchell review conducted earlier, I guess maybe last fall, earlier this year, we have now implemented a new telecommunications plan, which will save the Township approximately $5,000 a year. And the implementation of Paymentus is still underway. And that's it.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Councillor Levesque?
Thank you, Jen. That's impressive. I guess just a few things, comments. And so, the online portal, fantastic, great job. That's really welcome. The question I have is for those who either are unable to gain access or can't, won't, whatever. What's the alternative for those people?
We'll still be mailing all bills out, and we will still welcome any calls into the office. But if they wish to, is that what you mean? Like, yeah.
Like if I choose to not receive that, do I have that option and you will no longer mail it to me?
Oh, no,
Or,
yes, anybody who signs up for the, you will remain on billing unless you sign up for e-billing.
perfect, yeah, okay, thank you. So obviously saving direct mailing and all
That's
that kind of
right,
stuff.
yes.
Yeah, thank you. That's one question. The grants, that's a lot of behind the scenes stuff, and thank you for that. Property tax collection, just an overall question that others might have as well. For the amount of work it takes to chase people down and all that kind of stuff, and let's say as an example, you've been doing this for 6 months, dealing with a particular ratepayer, and they decide at the last minute to make payment, but you've incurred a lot of back and forth work to do that. Is there any kind of restitution that they have are responsible in terms of fines or any kind of compensation back to the township for that work?
Unfortunately, I'm unaware of any kind of compensation that we are allowed to, unless it's gone actually to the tax sale process, and even then staff time is not permittable. It's nature of business, unfortunately.
Okay.
And yes, it does take a lot of staff time. So we do encourage residents, if they aren't able to make their payments or, their annual taxes, that they reach out to the township to try to, get into a payment arrangement. We'll try to help them as much as we can. We do not want to see taxes go over 2 years in arrears. We understand that sometimes circumstances arise, and we have made payment arrangements in the past with people and helped them out this situation before. In most cases, usually it's just the initial letter that they receive that they're, that they realize, it's serious now and they have to come in and pay. Most cases, it doesn't get to that stage too often.
Okay, thank you. And last question on the budget variance report. Thank you for that. It's really comprehensive. Just generally, as you said, we're roughly 42% to 50% spend to date. Just for people that might be looking at this online, the actual 2024 versus actual 2025 is at this time, correct?
That's right.
Okay. And the budget variance.
Sorry, yes, that's right.
And the budget variance is also as at this time.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay.
From January 1st to May 31st.
Right,
Yeah,
okay.
5 months in.
Thank you. Just wanted to clarify that, because if people are just looking at this, they may consider that the variance is against the overall budget, which it isn't. Like it's against spend to date, not.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? I have a quick question for you, Jen, regarding that online financial portal thing. You said it needs a unique PIN to log on. What happens if somebody forgets their PIN? Is it like a password that they can reset themselves, or do they have to contact the township?
Yeah, no, so everything's done remotely. So on the e-services website, if you forget your password, you can request a password reset. It will send you a password, it will send you an email in which you'll have to confirm that you do want to change your password, and you can reset it. Nothing goes, the township has no part of helping, we will help walk them through the steps, but it is all done through the website.
Okay, thanks. No further questions or comments? Okay, we'll move on to item number 12.4. Bylaw 40-2025, appoint audit service 25 to 2027. Resolution, please.
The council approved bylaw 40-2025 to appoint Welch LLP Chartered Professional Accountants as the municipal corporation auditors for the years 2025 to 2027 with an option of extension for 2028 and 2029.
Do we have a mover? Councillor Tripp, followed by Councillor Levesque. Some background, please.
So on just the 2024, our audit service agreement expired. So on May 8th of 2025, the township issued a request for proposal seeking proposals for external audit services for the municipality. The RFP provided for audit services based on a 3-year term for the year 2025, 2026, and 2027, with an option to extend for 2028 and 2029. We received one submission as part of the RFP request, and it was from Welsh LLP for a 2025 value of $32,500 plus HST. For 2026, $33,475 plus HST, and 2027, $34,480 plus HST. And then they listed us 2 values to extend, the option to extend for 2028 and 2029. After speaking with various municipalities that have received recent quotations for audit services, these fees seem reasonable. And as part of the 2026 budget, the budgeted value will be adjusted accordingly.
Any questions or comments? Councillor Tripp?
Who are the current auditors? Is it the same group? And how long have they been with us?
They have been with us for 3 years as well. 4 years, sorry. Yeah, we had a 3-year with a 4, we extended 1 year last year. We could have had extended a 2nd year for a 5th year, but we decided to remain competitive and go out again.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Levesque?
To follow up, and that's exactly the question I had. So given, the landscape, so what do we do in this case? I mean, obviously, we've done the right thing by doing an RFP. We got one response. If we continue doing that over and over and over, we could potentially end up with the same auditor for multiple years, and like could be up to 10 years. So what is our responsibility? Is it to go out into a rotational scenario, and like what do we do in those cases?
Well, I believe the Municipal Act indicates that you can only have the same auditor for 2 5-year terms. Yeah. At which then we'll have to go back to the board and see if we go for RFP and there's not a competitive market, then we may have to approach another auditing firm and see.
Okay.
In that case, we'd follow our procurement policy and move forward that way.
Thank you.
I have a quick question then. Every year they seem to be raising their price around $1,300 or so. Is that like a standard rate or whatever? Or like why the?
Yeah, well, you're going to see an increase every year just for them adjusting their own cost, just like for inflation. So I would say that these increases are very reasonable year over year. I'm actually happy about the price that came in. I was expecting a lot higher. For just in comparison for 2024, we paid $35,000. So
Okay.
we actually went down slightly. So, you're going to see these fees increase. The professional market, it was hard to retain professional auditors, like accountants, sorry. So they've seen a huge rise in staffing costs, in which they have to ensure that they're recollecting their funds back for an audit.
Okay. Councillor Thompson?
That just makes me think, when they do their quotes, is it based on as we grow, will that become bigger? Is it based on the amount of whatever we're doing, whatever they use to quote on it? Like, I'm not even sure how it works. So.
From my understanding, is the amount of time that they spend on the account. And that's probably why we saw a better rate this year when we came back to the table, is because they're getting more efficient in operating and knowing what the organization has. If they require to do more work or more digging, then yes, it will. If we grow, it may impact. We'll have to see where that stands, but ultimately, Renee, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I want to comment on how we complete audits here just compared to our neighbors. So neighboring municipalities normally have auditors that do their bookkeeping for them along with closing off their year. We're one of the only municipalities in the county, or ones I know, that actually we reconcile all the way to financial statements, and they come in and just audit. So we're able to keep the fees down because we're reconciling to the end.
Okay, Councillor Thompson?
Which means we're doing a very good job at doing that end of it, right? That means the better we are, the less digging they have to do. So that's, okay, good. Nice picture, thanks.
Perfect. Do we need to reread the resolution? All in favor? Carried. On to item number 12.5, bylaw 38-2025, debenture agreement for 2025 capital projects. Resolution, please.
The council approved bylaw 38, 2025, being a bylaw to enter into an agreement with Ontario Infrastructure and Lands Corporation for a 20-year debenture in the amount of $826,261, and that council directs the deputy mayor and treasurer deputy CEO to sign the agreement.
Do we have a mover? Councillor Tripp, followed by Councillor Levesque. Some background, please.
So as part of the 2025 budget, council approved the debenture funding to complete the capital works for Madawaska Road, a new fire pumper tanker, as well as a 3/4-ton truck for the fire department. And on February 20th, 2025, the township entered into a financing agreement, bylaw 11-2025, with Ontario Infrastructure and Lands Corporation, Loans Corporation, with respect to temporary and long-term capital borrowing for the processing of these projects. As two capital items have been purchased and committed, bylaw 38, 2025 is to enter into an agreement with OILC for a 20-year debenture in the amount of $826,261 based on the actual capital expenditures incurred. An agreement for Madawaska Road Capital Works project will come forward later in the year once the construction has been completed. The debenture is issued with the following terms: an amortization with the principal of $826,261 over 20 years with an interest rate of 4.4%.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? I'd like to just ask, is this something we can pay off sooner if we have extra funds, or are we locked in for 20 straight years?
No, we can pay off the debenture sooner if we have excess funds.
Okay.
To add to that, we do have the projects coming in for debentures this year. A significant amount of them are development charge funded. So the intent is if we collect quicker, we are able to pay earlier. So the intent was it's 20-year, but we have the possibility, if there's more development and development charges are available, that we are able to eliminate the debenture earlier.
Okay, perfect. Any other questions, comments? None seen. All in favor? Carried. Item number 12.6, 2025 Asset Management Plan. Resolution, please.
The council received the 2025 Asset Management Plan attached herein, and the council endorsed the use of the 2025 Asset Management Plan for financial planning.
Do we have a mover? Councillor Thompson, followed by Councillor Tripp. Some background, please.
So the township is continuing to improve our asset management plan. We present to you today the 2025 AMP. With council endorsing this AMP, the township will meet the obligations for the July 1st, 2025 requirement under regulation, and the document will be posted on the township's website. So as per the regulation, the township is required to have an updated asset management plan. This new plan addresses proposed level of service, assesses asset conditions, analyzes life cycle strategies, and develops a long-term financial plan. It will allow the township to make informed decisions and optimize infrastructure investments and ensure service reliability and affordability in the face of infrastructure replacement and growth. The township presently owns an asset portfolio of $55.67 million. As of May 31st, all assets were based on assessed conditions, and 78% of the township assets are in fair or better condition. So that's good. Assets there are some assets in a very poor condition, and they may require replacement or rehabilitation in the near future, and we will watch those. We'll continue to monitor those assets. So to meet the capital replacement and rehabilitation needs to maintain existing infrastructure, prevent infrastructure backlogs, and achieve long-term financial stability, Sustainability, the township's average annual capital requirements are $2.3 million. That means that we should be contributing $2.3 million into our reserves every year. The township is committing approximately $766,000. So again, we have that, as we saw in our previous AMP study, we do have a gap. We are starting to close it. It's $1.53 million. So to achieve our proposal of maintain current levels of condition, the township must address the 1.53 million. We implemented the following strategy to be considered. Implementing, earlier in the spring, we brought forward a report indicating that we recommend a 3.2% increase. Today, we're bringing forward to you a 3% increase, so we have decreased it slightly. And this would be to fund this gap over a 10-year period to close the infrastructure deficit while also balancing affordability. We have, while preparing our 10-year financial forecast, ensured that we have accounted for inflationary pressures with our capital costs. Capital costs increase about 4.36% per year, so that has been added in as a factor. And we have also considered that prioritizing applications for funding grants when they become available. So failure to implement these strategies could result in accelerated asset depreciation, and we want to ensure that we maintain our current levels of service. So it's important to note that today's AMP is presented, it's a snapshot in time, so it's constantly changing, and we will be constantly revisiting it and ensuring that it's meeting our expectations and council's expectations.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Councillor Thompson?
You know, I've seen the AMP grow from long before I was on council, when it was first, what are our assets? You know, just that basic thing, to something's grown to be very sophisticated. Also, there's new software. They're just much, much better. There's an inclusion of climate change effects. So it's really nice to see where we are on this. You know, for a small municipality with limited staff, we still have a lot to take care of. One question I have is there was a mention of county roads, and with growth, we can expect to have more wear and tear on them. So there should be sorry, I didn't copy it. I think the inference was residents should be prepared to have issues with county roads as we grow. Did I understand that properly? Because I'm thinking, do we not coordinate with the county to say that we're growing and we're expecting this? I don't know who.
I'd have to look at it on your reference, but just thinking about the concept itself, yeah, we work with the county. You may have the issue where the road's not at a standard and we don't dictate at that level. But also we work with them. One, to discuss that, and two, we're responsible for anything over that. So if we have to add lanes, or we're recommending adding lanes, it may be through us, development charges side. So we're funding it. So there's a component there on county roads where anything we want more than what they offer, it is the township that's responsible for it.
So there's no risk that that in the future we'll have lousy county roads because it'll be part of growth, they'll be funded, and so it isn't. So yeah, perhaps I misinterpreted the original. I have another question, if I may. Okay. The question of growth comes up over and over, or the realization that growth is an issue comes up over and over. And I'm wondering, and everything's quantified, which is what we need for an AMP. I'm wondering if when we do planning, if we can make sure that we check to see the effect the plans will have on our AMP. So that instead of just saying, the way it's done now, there'll be a letter that goes out to the school boards, they'll say, no problem, to the fire department. But to look at what would be the costs if we put this many more people here on the roads. So we check with every department to really see, is that the best way to move forward as we plan? Can we quantify that? I don't know who would answer that.
I think it's just consideration for the impacts on services we're growing. So you're talking about that relation between growth and asset management planning. This is the part of this asset management plan where you're seeing growth come in, where we've implicated the development charges. This council will be part of the process in reviewing the development charge study also. You'll see that component come together where we talk about that also. And then there's our strategic plan talks about us actually planning for growth as in services, HR related. So there's all these aspects. So we do have, so they're all coming together. I guess all that to say that it is coming together where we're kind of discussing, we have this year on all departments' goals is to review as we continue to grow. What does that mean to your department? When do you need a new truck? When do you need more of a machine operator? What does that mean? So we're doing that. I think that's been a missing aspect. Our planning's here and other operationals here, and we're bringing it all together through the asset management plan and through operations generally.
Councillor Tripp?
Thank you. And just on that, and back to the current gap of 1.53, I'm really encouraged to see that shrinking. I think part of our fiduciary responsibility here is the management of the day-to-day now, which I think we're doing an incredible job on over the last couple of years in terms of the strat plan, getting aligned, the way the staffing is working, and you're coming to us with this kind of information presented in a way that allows us to have that forward looking. But we also need to make sure that in 20 years from now, the people sitting at this desk have the resources as we did, although limited, but we need to make sure those resources are there so that when, the excitement of the new pump truck that arrived today is going to need to be replaced in 20 years, and to make sure that there's money there for it is a big part. So I'm encouraged. It's very challenging in these times to have a budget that allows us to continue to contribute to the reserve fund. In this past year, we've seen a number of occasions where we've had small surpluses and have diverted them in. So I want to congratulate the team for doing that. And I think it's a trajectory we want to stay on for the health of future councils in the community to have the tools they need in 20 years from now. Thank you.
Yep.
One other question. The township has been keeping up with provincially mandated asset management plan requirements. Is this the final stage, or is, I think climate change was added? What was added in this stage, and what are we looking for to add as we go forward? Thank you.
So levels of service was added in this stage, whether you want to increase levels of service, maintain, or decrease levels of service. So we put out a survey back around Christmas time, January, in which a lot of the residents indicated that they'd like to maintain levels of service. Yes, climate was added, and growth was already in there, but we touched base on it. We expanded a little bit more on it. So there is a requirement to update your plan every 5 years, but every year you have to be still reviewing it and updating. So going forward, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making sure that our assets, we are assessing, updating our conditions, ensuring that every year when we go through our budget forecast, we'll see that those lines are still in order, and accounting for any kind of future needs as we grow. Like I said, it's a snapshot in time, so it's not something that we did the plan, now we'll put it on the shelf, and in 5 years we'll revisit it. No, it's going to keep evolving, it's going to keep growing, and in 5 years we're going to have to develop a new plan again, which we'll bring back to the table. But we have all the tools, and we'll even have even more accurate information then.
Okay. Any more questions or comments?
I just wanted to comment on the finance strategy a bit, because this is new for us. In here, we've always had, that spreadsheet, the long-range capital forecast, and bringing it all together is pretty exciting. He likes finance. The thing about it is that we do have a plan in there, and then you may not, it's within here, but you may not see it straightforward. But what we have is we've planned to need a requirement to still borrow in 2026, but the intent of the plan right now is that we do not borrow for 2 to 3 years following the next year to let some of the debentures mature and then stay within a borrowing that is affordable. So that component is huge for us because we're heading into more of a financial sustainability piece and we're already feeling it. So having it connected to the asset management plan now that also has development charge projects included in it, it really brings together like proper capital or future planning.
Perfect. No more, Councillor Levesque? Squeezing her in.
The other trigger people are beat me to it. Well done. Thank you for that. Really comprehensive, detailed, and as we say, data is king, but in this case, queen. Thank you. So obviously growth is driving a lot of change, and we see that, and particularly with our growth strategy or projections, I guess, right through 2030. So it's a continual pressure, right? We know that, and we're going to see that going up. You mentioned about the survey that was put out back in January, I think it was, which I think is a really good barometer to get a sense of what people are thinking rather than what's reality, but perhaps, and I think that's a really good thing, because some of the comments I get from specific residents on specific roads are they want more. So, it's hard how to balance that. So we've got an overall view that most people think it's okay, but then we have some places where people think it's inadequate. So I don't know how we can measure that. And what I've asked some people to do is to provide feedback through the mechanism that we provide at the township to voice your complaints and concerns. So hopefully people are doing that. And if they are not, then we'll continue to encourage that. One thing that I know is not specifically in here, it's just a question because it came up a couple of years ago when we had the accident on Berryville that closed down the access to Berryville, and it was the only road in and out. And I know it's not in here, but a question, I guess, it's basically to anybody who thinks of answering it, but is there any thought given to the future of how we can create a more safe scenario in that case? So if that road perhaps gets closed for whatever reason in the future, what options do we have either today or are we considering for the future? And it's just, it could be something for the future strategy versus the report. So it could either be a strategic planning item or a asset management strategy item. I don't know.
You're looking at like that health and safety and the access points for.
Yeah, but it affects obviously the asset management.
Yeah, definitely. So interesting. And we're kind of, at this point, having hit the final stage of these regulations, we'll note it because we're just going to make the plan stronger and stronger as we go. So we don't have anything now, but we could consider in what we would do there on different access points for areas where there's no connection.
Right. Thank you. And lastly, the actual plan, the thing that comes out of this, the schedule of items that will come from the asset management plan, is it now going to come out as a result of this when this is released, or because I know there is a general schedule that comes out, right, that people can review, look at?
Yeah, so there'll be an asset management plan posted on our website after, if council endorses it today.
Thank you.
Another question, Councillor Thompson?
I'm thinking about a communication piece that might be helpful for what you're talking about. Is something to say when we started our asset management plan prior to most of us being around, what percentage needs attention now, which I knew was high, especially roads. Roads is the main thing that was indicated, high to now where there are only a few, I don't know how many roads there are, but percentage-wise. Is there something we can do without naming roads, just saying we're working on it as a communication piece?
We can highlight, we have on an Appendix B, the current level of service mapping, which is the best way to highlight it because you can see it visually. So on page 113, which we'll highlight through, we actually went into that mapping, which was done by a street scan, identifying the roads as red in the past plan. It's the same map this time, but we've went in and identified the ones we've replaced, which are significant. Ferguson Lake Road's one of them. We're going on Madawaska Road, so you could see the change from red to green. So it's a good opportunity to highlight it without all the complicated stuff, just visually seeing the difference in road maintenance. Yep.
Yeah, so as a separate piece, so people don't have to read a 127-page document for that good news. Okay, thank you.
Any further questions, comments? No. Thanks for putting together such a good plan. It made it easy to read through too.
This asset management plan has been building for years prior to my time, and there's been a lot of staff, other staff involved, and I'd also like to thank Renee. She helped me with this project as well, so thank you.
Well, my hat off to everybody involved. It's well done. Do we need to reread the resolution? All in favor then? Carried. So on to item number 13, committees and boards. 13.1, Candidate Day Committee by Councillor Tripp.
Thank you. Just a quick update. We're ready. It's just around the corner. The pieces are all in play. We're expecting a great turnout, lots of activities. Sponsorship has been good, not as strong as it has in last years, but we managed to bring in 8 sponsors for the bandstand and a couple of other events outside of the funding from the public entities. So we're quite pleased with it. The team has done a great job. We're looking forward to the day, and then we'll have our subsequent meeting following Canada Day to start the debrief and packing for Canada Day 2026. Thank you.
Any questions? Item 13.2, Recreation and Culture Committee, Councillor Levesque.
Thank you. Verbal update for everybody at this time. We've got a few items on the go. So we got the upcoming business showcase, which is not being done by us, but we'll be participating along with staff and have a table there as well. And I will also be there to represent the Renfrew and Area Chamber of Commerce, and hopefully we can get some interest there as well. Through this, the teams put together an overall program, which is a combination of the activities that were on the website as well as all kinds of other stuff. And we pulled together a comprehensive view of all of the activities that go on either regularly or irregularly through the entire township. And it's an astounding view of what that looks like. And the amount of things that are happening in this township is incredible. So that'll be available. We'll make it public for everybody to look at. And we'll have that available at the showcase. Music in the park as well as art in the park, those are underway. We've had to cut back on the music in the park by 1 act. Coincidentally, one of the acts that we had booked won a local competition over at the Redneck, and therefore now I think they're going to be in Pembroke at an overall event. So we've been shunned aside for a more important date. But anyway, that aside, we are looking at to see if we can fill that gap. But if not, we still have a couple of dates in mind for that. And this is our first year doing it, so we're going to engage it anyways. Junior golf, we decided to defer that till at least next year to determine the feasibility and what the design of that type of program might look like. It was starting to look a little more complicated than we first thought, so we're just going to look at that and see if we can define something better for the coming year. And of course, the upcoming summer camps and soccer camps are also forthcoming, and information and schedules are available on greatermadawaska.com.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? Item number 13.3, Library Board by Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, things are rolling along nicely as planned. As I mentioned last time, there's a push to create more awareness of the benefits of being members. So I can't do the Madawaska Canada Day run this year because I'm going to have to eat pancakes in Calabogie with the library board instead on the pancake breakfast. Shame. No, I'm sorry. I love running. Then we've got they'll be at the showcase as well, and we'll be at the showcase, as well as the Fish and Game Club kids fishing derby on July 5th. So hopefully we'll start getting some momentum and some awareness through that. And that's it.
Thank you. Any questions? No. On to item number 14, bylaws. 14.1, bylaw approval. Resolution, please.
Be it resolved that the following bylaw 43/2025 confirmatory be deemed read a first, second, and final time and passed by council at the regular council meeting held June 19th, 2025.
Do we have a mover? Councillor Thompson, followed by Councillor Tripp. Do we need a background on this? All in favor? Carried. Item number 15, adjournment. Motion to adjourn. Resolution, please.
That the regular council meeting of June 19th, 2025 be adjourned at 4:25 PM.
Do we have a mover? Councillor Thompson, followed by Councillor Levesque. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much, and that puts an end to our regular council meeting of June 19th. So I hope everybody has a great day and enjoy the weekend ahead.